Welcome back to Eyes on Israel. I am honored today to be joined in the studio by one of Israel's most veteran diplomats and political figures, Danny Ayalon. Danny Ayalon served in many different positions in the Israeli foreign affairs and the Israeli government, including deputy foreign minister and Israel's ambassador to the United States. Welcome to Eyes on Israel.
My pleasure, Pesach.
So right now we're in the midst of this war, obviously, and you were the ambassador to the United States. What do you make of the current state of U.S.-Israel relations? We see the Biden administration putting a lot of pressure on Israel to commit to a roadmap to a two-state solution, and you were also involved in many of those negotiations back in the early 2000s during the Bush years. How do you assess the current state of U.S.-Israel relations?
Yes, well, first of all, I would like to say that we need to mention the Hakarat Tov. I think that the Biden administration, and rightly so, I don't think it had any other choice, had to come to our aid in order to deter Iran and the Hezbollah. And this is part of the natural alliance between Israel and the United States, regardless of who occupies the White House. Israel is a staunch ally of the United States, and this is not a one-way street. Of course, we are the junior partner here, and we very much appreciate the United States' support. They are our best friend and ally. But also, we are very proud that we can protect American interests here. First and foremost is to fight against terrorism, global terrorism. And today we know that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah and Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad are all part of the same network. And they target the United States just as they do target us. They are actually very, very strong enemies of Judeo-Christian heritage and values. And this is an anathema to them. That the U.S. and Israel work together, because when the U.S. and Israel are aligned strategically, politically, then there is no force in the world that can really fight us or hurt us. And this is where I come to the issue of the two-state solution, because yes, as much as it is important, of course, for the American to keep shipping arms and munitions in order to stop Iran, in order to fight and win Hamas and Hezbollah, in order to keep away China and Russia from the Middle East. So you see, it's all part of a global interest of the United States. Aside from the way that the fact that we are a democracy, just like the U.S., we have our Judeo-Christian values, just like the United States. So it is a natural alliance. But when it comes to political issues like two-state solutions, I think this is the wrong message, especially after the massacre of Hamas on the 7th of October. To talk about a two-state solution, it's something which is giving the wrong messages. And I don't think this is viable politically, and I don't think it is doable practically. And most of all, I think it is wrong morally and based on our values and our tradition and our history. So in that respect, I think that this takes away from the American support, and it may prolong the war because it gives oxygen to all the detractors of Israel and the United States in the region, just as it is when the U.S. is keep pushing on Israel in terms of humanitarian aid to Gaza, or threatening to withhold munition shipments. This is just prolonging the war against our interests, but against American interests. So this is actually, it's something which has to be corrected, because I think there's a misguidance here. And I'm not sure it's by whether it's by design or by default. I would like to give the benefit of the doubt that it is by default, but the result is just the same, which is hurting Israeli and American interests just as much.
So when you speak about how you don't believe that a two-state solution is viable, and certainly everyone watching this program knows that I've been saying that. I say that almost every week. I talk about that issue. You were part of the Israeli delegation at the Y Plantation Accords or negotiations, and at Camp David back in the early 2000s, when there were still negotiations going on for what we call the peace process with Yasser Arafat, and the work being done there was on the road towards the creation of a Palestinian state. And also in 2005, Israel pulled out all of its citizens and all of its military from the Gaza Strip, famous Gaza disengagement. And at the time, you spoke in favor of it, but then in later years, you've expressed that you felt that was a mistake. Looking back on all the negotiations with creating the Palestinian Authority and all the negotiations with Yasser Arafat and all of that, do you look back similarly and see that as a mistake? What can you say about the willingness of the other side to have a peaceful coexistence?
And this was what makes this a big mistake. The whole process with Arafat, with the Palestinians, all the way now to Abu Mazen, and of course, let alone Hamas. And here, I think Israel really came with good faith. And, we are very strong on our beliefs, and it's corroborated by documents, by archaeology, that the land of Israel has only been the land of the Jews. Jerusalem has always been and only capital for the Jewish people, established by King David more than 3,000 years ago. Unfortunately, we know that part maybe of God's prophecy, that there were many invaders to the land. I guess many coveted God's land here. And 2,000 years, of exile. But at the end of the day, the Jews have always stayed here and always returned here, also as the prophets of Israel and the God's promise actually prescribed. And when it came to 1991, 1992, the end of the Cold War, in the United States, under Clinton, they thought that they can reshape the entire Middle East as part of reshaping the entire world. And they did convince Israeli leaders to start a negotiation process with the Palestinians, with the understanding, I think the understanding of Yitzhak Rabin was that there will not be a Palestinian state. Maybe there will be an autonomy. Certainly they would not be armed. And even though it is our land, we are for peace willing to make painful concessions. But we very soon were proved wrong, because the Palestinians never thought of peace. They never wanted to build a Palestinian state, which was never,
And when you were in those negotiations, you saw that they were really not interested in peace? You saw that at the time at the table?
Absolutely. Because first and foremost, they always talked in a derogatory way about the history of the Jews, trying to negate it, just trying to negate everything that our Bible says, whether it's our Bible and also where the New Testament is. And most of all, they never wanted to sign an end of all their claims, false claims, and an end of the conflict. They never wanted to sign an end of the conflict. And this should have been the worrying sign that actually, in their mind, the peace process was just to get a piece of the land, to weaken Israel, and to actually bring alive what they call the stage theory, that they would carve Israel piece by piece until they destroy us all together. Also, we were a very bad sign was that they never wanted to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. And forget history that they are trying to rewrite, but also in terms of diplomatic, let's say, tools or rules, there is a reciprocity. Israel, during this Oslo, we recognized the right of Palestinians for self-determination. They never recognized the Jewish and Israel right for self-determination. So there was always a lopsided process where we came with good faith and they tried to use it actually to destroy us.
Well, we only have about a minute left. It sounds like you're saying that in our desire for peace, we made some mistakes along the way and ceded some ground in the narrative war, and we're now paying the price for it.
Exactly. You know, we are peace and seeking people. You know, our first word is shalom. You know, this is how we greet people. Our God is a God of peace. Our Bible is a Bible of peace. Our tradition is tradition of peace. So we, I think, wrongly just thought that just as we desire peace, so will the other side. And this is where we were wrong.
Ambassador Ayalon, thank you so much for joining us on Eyes on Israel. And we'd love to have you back. It's really an honor to be with you today.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back with more Eyes on Israel after this word from our sponsors.